Aloha, my friends. Coming today to share a little bit of soul speak with you. So I'm noticing with the really intense, beautiful solar light and the raising vibrations and the plasma waves, the crystalline waters being activated even more deeply, I'm noticing a couple of trends going on. One is that people are feeling really blissful, almost kind of floaty in that light. Spacious, clear, not knowing, in a space of not knowing, in that open, clear spaciousness. It's really beautiful. And then I'm also noticing that light is doing what light does, which is illumine shadow. And some of the shadow remnants in people are the places where what we might call the lower self or the egoic mind are still running their responses, their biology, their interactions with people. Years ago, back in my choral conducting days, I was at a workshop with a fairly well-known choral conductor, and he was giving a presentation, and he said, always be more mature than the people you work with. And I look at that now and I think about all of the platforms and places where we encounter humanity. Social media, the store, the road, family, all these places. And what does it mean to be more mature than the people you're with? And not to say that you're superior in any way. To me, it's a matter of what perspective you have, what perception and what perspective, and then what reality you move from in engaging. And so reactivity, offense, frustration, aggravation, a sense of what's just wrong out there. And it might be even in here, what's wrong. Those are postures of the ego, of that lower self. And it's really important to know that when our consciousness lifts beyond the egoic mind space, we don't lose our boundaries. We don't become weak. In fact, we become much more empowered. So an example might be the thing that is misaligned, which previously your egoic mind might have judged as wrong or upsetting. You see very clearly that's a no for you, or here's what you're called to do or say or choose, and you do that thing, and you say it, and you choose it. And there's no reactivity in you, there's not charge, there's power, there's clarity and power. And what must happen in this is a full submission of the smaller egoic self to the greater love that you are. And it doesn't go lightly usually. It fights because this thing is wrong, or it's not fair, or it's hurting somebody. And there's that sense of righteous indignation or justification or position because you know you're right, because you want to help. It's still a position of the ego, just as a position of wrongness, of feeling wrong or less than, is also a position of the ego. Because what we fully are, I wouldn't just say truly are, because really we're all of it. We're all of these facets of experience and dimensions of being wrapped up in our little human container. But the enduring, eternal, most comprehensive what we are is able to proceed clearly, powerfully, and strongly in word, thought, action, and deed without suffering without suffering. Because the ego and the attachment to the rightness or wrongness of something leads to the suffering. Not actually the thing itself. You know, one of my best examples of this was back in the day when I had really rough menstrual cycles and I had done the throwing up and nearly passed out, and now I'm just like floating between, in this like cold sweat, pale, extreme pain, just, balled up and moaning. And I decided to do a little experiment. I wonder how fully I can be without resistance to this experience. If there were no resistance in me to this pain, complete surrender and allowance. And in that moment, that extreme pain became ecstasy in my body. I've not had this experience very often. I still have resistance in my system, but a lot less than I used to, which means I have a lot less suffering. Because pain is pain. Pain's going to hurt. As another friend said, hot is hot and cold is cold, and we're physical, and these things just are. And no matter how aware, awake, enlightened we are, we still are in the container of the human body. But our relationship to that can be the difference between suffering and ecstasy. It was fascinating to me to watch pain become something else. So, because I no longer had resistance to it. So when we're in a situation and we're worked up and we're in attachment to our position, is really what it is. We're in attachment to our position and the rightness of it. We are causing suffering in ourselves. And maybe it's not experienced as that. Sometimes people like it, they like the being fired up and angry and riled and indignant. It makes them feel very alive, like things matter. Yeah, that's actually also a perfectly wonderful path. I'm just speaking about this not because it's superior or better. It's just because if you want a different way and you hadn't known yet about this option, now you might see something new. So these energies that are here are assisting with this. And I find that not only are they illumining what's there in the world, they're illumining everything that's within us so deeply. And there it is. Our own pockets of shadowed smallness. That's fine. There they are. Hello. That's what light does. It illumines shadow. And then we get to choose. Because really the only reason any of that's happening is ultimately for your freedom and your well-being and your empowerment, and the truth of you is love. The needed ingredient or helpful ingredient is your relationship with that, to receive it without resistance. And with the empowerment to make a choice, to change, to choose, to relax, to soften, to allow grace, space, greater awareness. So as you navigate the inevitable, which is here, this rising of vibrations in the planet, in our world, may you stay fully aware so that you can receive what is unfolding for your infinite betterment. And it's like you don't need to be better. Your infinite, release of any and all suffering in you or others. To be free. Thanks for tuning in. It's an honor to be here with you. Sending you much love and aloha.